Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Empowered Pause. I am your host, Rachel Chinoa J. Today is Wednesday, November 8th. We are rapidly approaching the end of the year, and I don't know how I feel about it. How do you feel about it? Are you excited and different? How has your year been so far? Mine has been really interesting, and that's what I'm going to talk about a little today. Resilience. That's our topic for today. But before I get started, as usual, let me tell you a little bit about Speak Initiative and the Empowered Pause. Speak Initiative is suicide prevention through empowerment, action, and kindness. And the Empowered Pause is just one of our programs under our empowerment philosophy. Speak Initiative is a peer support organization that stands in the gap with people who are experiencing mental health challenges or who have had past suicidal ideations. Our mission is to reduce the stigma around mental health care and suicide in the Black and Brown community so that our speakers can speak, be heard, and live fully. So, again, SPEAK stands for Suicide Prevention through Empowerment, Action, and Kindness. All right. And as you can see by the banner that's scrolling, you can find us on all social media platforms, including YouTube and X. So now that we've done that, let's get started on this topic that I have today of resilience. Now, I want to start off a little different today only because the topic came to me, came to us, I should say, during a conversation I was having with a really good friend of mine, who more so like my sister than a friend, right? And I said the date is November 8th. We are rapidly approaching the end of the year. And my brain went to like, well, what happened this year? What do we do? Where do we go? Like, it seems like it was a blink of an eye, but things did happen. So, in a moment of transparency, I would like to express that I suffered a small trauma, but a trauma nonetheless, late last year, early this year. And it threw me for a loop. I wasn't able to eat. I wasn't really focused as much as I could be. I didn't feel well. And sometimes these things happen, right? Looking back at it now, I didn't realize how resilient I could be in that process of pain, in that process of hurt, in that process of loss, or so I thought it was a loss at that time, right? So I want to talk a little bit about resilience because it wasn't until I was having that conversation that I realized how resilient I am. And it takes sometimes for us to remove ourselves from the moment to really see what's going on and watch from beginning to now and see the small changes that may have taken effect, right? So I've been saying resilience for about 2 minutes now. What is resilience, right? Now, there's a song that I like. It's called Bounce Back by Big Sean. Last night took a L, but tonight I bounce back. Well, that's what resilience is, the bounce back. Psychologists actually define resilience as the process of adapting well in the face of adversity, um, and that's through trauma, tragedy. Let's see. Hold on one second. That's through trauma, tragedy, threats, or significant sources of stress. And that could be such as your family or relationship problems, serious health problems, or workplace and financial stressors. So, as much as resilience involves bouncing back from difficult experiences, it can also involve profound personal growth. And that growth can come through mental, emotional, behavioral flexibility, and adjustment to external and internal demands, right? So resilience is showing how pliable, how flexible we actually are, even if we don't feel like it in those moments of trauma, in those moments of challenge, right? I personally didn't feel like I was going to be able to make it to the next day on certain days. I can say that because I know what it is to be extremely depressed. I know what it is to have suicidal ideations, right? And I'm saying all of this transparently because, again, we all have everything I talk about on the Empowered Pause is available to each and every one of us, right? So I just want to say that. Now, some people may get knocked down by the adversities of life, but they can actually come back at least as strong as they were before, or sometimes even stronger. So it's like, when we watch children on the playground and the little one running and they tumble over, scrape their knee, sometimes they actually just jump right back up and keep running. I love that some children are able to have that bounce back, that it didn't hurt and I'm going to keep going. Well, I guess with time and experiences and life doing what life does, beating us up a lot of the time, that's where our flexibility, our ability to accept change is, of course, because when we get these adult ages, we like to have control and we like to control everything, but sometimes we cannot control everything. It is not realistic. And so we have to pick and choose where our battles may lie, right? We all face trauma, adversity, and other stresses. Life does not come with a map. So everyone, I mean everyone here, is going to experience a twist, a turn, from everyday challenges to even events that may have traumatic events that may have a long lasting effect, right? And that could be the death of a loved one, a life altering accident, an illness. And these things affect people differently. And that's what I want to stress as well. Just because a person may have an experience that is similar to yours does not mean that you both are going to respond the same way. What is traumatizing for one person may not be the same for another. We all break differently. And I like that quote because one of my close friends, the person who inspired this live tonight, she says that often. We all break differently. So it's about being aware as well. You just because something may have happened to a person over here and they handled it a different way doesn't mean that your response is wrong, or your pain or your trauma or your adversity or anything that comes out of that situation. It's not wrong, it's just different, right? So each change affects people differently, and bringing a unique flood of emotions and thoughts at the same time, and uncertainty. So most people generally adapt well over time to life changing situations and stressful situations, but that is in part due to resilience. Resilience is what actually keeps us moving forward, picking ourselves up and continuing the journey or continuing the process. While most of these adverse events can certainly be painful and difficult, they do not have to determine the outcome of your life. There are many aspects of your life that you can actually control, modify, and grow with. And that is the role of resilience. Becoming more resilient not only helps you get through difficult circumstances, it also empowers you to grow and even improve your life along the way. Now, resilient doesn't mean that a person won't experience difficulty or distress. People who have suffered major adversity or trauma in their lives commonly experience emotional pain and stress. In fact, the road to resilience is likely to involve a considerable amount of emotional distress. There are certain factors that make some people more resilient than others, and resilient isn't necessarily a personality trait, right? On the contrary, it involves behaviors, thoughts, and actions that anyone can learn and develop. So, again, the ability to be resilient is just, it's not an an extraordinary thing. I am not extraordinary. I'm a natural, regular, everyday person who realized that I am resilient in certain situations. Well, I wouldn't be here sitting before you today, right? We can all learn how to be resilient. It's like building a muscle, increasing your resilience. It takes time, takes intentionality, um, and it takes work. You have to be very intentional about this. So I'm going to give you a few different ways to work on being resilient, and they center around connection, wellness, healthy thinking, and purpose. And all of those focuses or those core components can actually empower you to withstand and learn. And that's the key word, learn from difficult and traumatic experiences. You can increase your capacity for resilience and and grow from difficulties with certain strategies. So I'm going to give you a few, not too many, of the different ways that you can build resilience in your life. And not to say that these you will not suffer, not to say that you will not have pain, not to say that you won't have a bad day, but maybe the bounce back won't take as long, right? And again, Big Sean, last night I took a L, but tonight I bounce back. I love the song. We can bounce back. We have that ability to do so. So the first section talks about building connections. So one way you build connections is prioritize your relationships. Connect with empathetic and understanding people who can remind you that you're not alone. You always have to have a reminder that you are not alone. We are not meant to make these journeys in isolation. And I know at times when there's a traumatic event, some of us like to isolate because I actually do the same thing. But it's important to accept help and support from people who care about you. So prioritize genuinely connecting with people who care about you, right? If you don't have those people readily available, you can join a group, and that will give you some social support to help you reclaim hope, right? Look for groups of people who may be experiencing the same thing you are. Maybe it's grief, maybe it's depression, and you don't see a personal psychotherapist or a clinical social worker or someone like that, right? There's group therapy. To foster wellness in your life, we can talk about taking care of your body, self care. We say this a lot. However, I will continue saying it because I realize that during those times of trauma, during those dark days, during those days when I just don't feel like being, self care seems to go out the window. I have to be transparent, I have to be honest. And it's not okay sometimes to let yourself fall apart. You know, you have to take care of your body. It is a legitimate practice for mental health and for building resilience. Stress is as much physical as it is emotional. So, promoting a positive lifestyle, like proper nutrition, ample sleep, hydration, exercise, all of that can strengthen your body, and it will help you adapt to stress and reduce the toll of emotions like anxiety and depression. Practice mindfulness. Mindfulness can be journaling, it can be yoga, any of your other spiritual practices like prayer or meditation. It can help you build connections and restore hope. It can prime you to deal with situations that require resilience. When you journal, when you meditate, or when you pray, think about the positive aspects of your life and recall the things you're grateful for, even during those personal trials. Gratitude can actually change your attitude. Or people sometimes say you have an attitude for gratitude, but actually, gratitude can change your attitude when you find purpose, when you help others, when you volunteer, when you go out, and even though you may be feeling like crap, but the holidays are coming up, Thanksgiving is coming up, or yeah, there's a lot of holidays actually coming up. And there will be gatherings. There will be places where there are people who are not as fortunate as we are that do not have the resources, so we can actually go out and help those people. That's how we find purpose. It gives you a sense of self-worth. It connects you with other people, and you can actually see where you're tangibly helping someone else. So it can empower you to grow in resilience. Be proactive. It's helpful to acknowledge and accept your emotions during hard times, but it's also important to help you foster self-discovery, to ask yourself, what can I do about blank, whatever said problem you're having in your life right now? That can be, what should I do about, my car? What should I do about my partner? Because we're not communicating well. Be proactive in that so it doesn't kind of blindside you and throw you off track. If the problem seems too big to handle, just break it down into smaller tasks, into manageable pieces. Taking that initiative will remind you that you can muster motivation and purpose in even stressful periods of your life. Um, and it increases the likelihood that you'll rise up during painful times again, right? Like I said earlier, if you would have asked me in January or February how I was feeling, I couldn't give you an honest answer because I didn't like the words that were going to come out of my mouth. I wasn't feeling my best. And I didn't think that I would be able to get to this place. However, what is this? 9 months later, just like the gestation of a baby or a newborn, right? I have looked back at those few months and I'm like, wow, that happened? Who knew that I could feel this good after something so traumatizing that happened for me, right? So be proactive, take initiative, look at the things in your life, go in, do some self discovery, and figure out where you can be better with yourself. And then move towards your goals. Develop realistic goals and do something regularly, even if it seems like a small accomplishment. That enables you to move toward the things that you want to accomplish. Those small wins equal big wins. Again, you can talk about self discovery. I know that I've grown through the pain that I was experiencing. So people often find that they have grown in some respect as a result of a struggle, right? It can, again, increase your sense of self worth and heighten your appreciation for life. And lastly, we're going to look at a couple of ways to embrace your healthy thoughts. Keep things in perspective, right? How you think is actually playing a significant part in how you feel and how resilient you are when you're faced with obstacles. Identify areas of irrational thinking. I had to do that for myself. And that happens because it's a tendency to catastrophize difficulties or assume the world is out to get you when you don't keep things in perspective, right? You might feel overwhelmed by a challenge, and then all of a sudden things start coming your way that it feels like a mountain or a volcano overflowing. Well, keep things in perspective. That is not happening. The world is not opening up into a sinkhole. You just are feeling emotions, right? So, how you interpret and how you respond to your stress is really um, helpful to be mindful of, to keep things in keep things in perspective, right? Accept change, and I know we all know change is a part of life. Certain goals or ideals may no longer be attainable as a result of an adverse situation, like losing a person or a relationship or a job, whatever the case may be. But accepting the circumstances that cannot be changed can actually help you focus on circumstances that you can change later or alter later, right? Maintain a hopeful outlook. I think I talked about that a little bit. And the last one I like to say is learn from your past. Looking back at who or what was helpful in previous times of distress may help you discover how you can respond effectively in new difficult situations, right? There was a quote, and I want to see if I can pull it up, that basically said, and I hope I can find it because it was a really good one. I'm sorry, I'm not prepared with that, but I really like the quote. Hold on a second. I'm so sorry. I can't find it. But basically, the quote basics says, let your past be a reminder, not a resting place. I believe that's how it's stated. The quote, again, was by Pastor Michael Warren of First Corinthian Baptist Church, NYC, or FCBC, NYC. That comes from his last sermon this past Sunday, where basically, let your past show you how great you can be, but don't let yourself stay in that pain and stay in the past, right? So learn from your past, look back at it. However, don't stay there, right? Remind yourself of when you've been able to find strength and ask yourself what you've learned from those experiences. And of course, you can always get help. Seek help if you are not feeling your best. Sometimes your own resources and your own strategies may not be enough. Sometimes you may need assistance and help building your resilience. And that's okay. It's not something natural for all of us. We can learn how to be resilient, but it's also important to remember you're not alone. So if you feel like you need help, if you feel like you need support along the journey of just actual maintaining your mental health, Speak Initiative is here. You can feel free to comment, like, share, subscribe to our YouTube page, do all of those wonderful things that will help us get the word out that Speak Initiative is here. We are looking for speakers. We're also looking for people to interview on the Empower Pause. So it would be greatly appreciated if you react, comment, like, share. This broadcast is also going to be on YouTube and Facebook. And you can get to the link via our website, which is scrolling below as well. I thank you so much for taking time with me today. I know we went a little bit longer than usual, but resilience, we all can do it. We all have it. And I pray that you find the strength in yourself just as I have found the strength in myself. Right? So again, thank you so much for being a part of the Empowered Pause today. Until next time, take care.